Good day. Let's discuss Unit 8, Understanding the Expectation. There's only one topic for Unit 8, which is Bloom's taxonomy. Benjamin Bloom is an American educational psychologist who made contributions to the classifications of educational questions or levels of thinking. And one of his most commendable work or notable work would be his hierarchy of thinking or level of thinking, which is called Bloom's taxonomy. Taxonomy, by definition, is the science of naming, describing, classifying organisms, and all, which also includes plants, animals, microorganisms, and the theory of mastery of learning. In Benjamin Bloom's taxonomy, he created this to categorize the levels of abstraction of questions. And he said that there are 7 levels of thinking. It starts with knowledge, comprehension, then application, analysis, synthesis, and then you have your evaluation. However, we can also further categorize these 7 levels into 2 main categories, which would be lower order thinking skills, or you can also call it as LUTs. And this pertains to the skills or thinking level which pertains to being able to recall things, explain things in your own words, and being able to slightly apply them. And the second category would be higher order thinking skills, which you can also call as HATs. This refers to the skills that go beyond memorizing information and puts more emphasis on the development of analytical skills. However, when it comes to determining or understanding the levels of thinking, we should always remember that there is no single model of learning appropriate to encompass all learning goals. Benjamin Bloom created this taxonomy for categorizing level of abstraction of questions that commonly occur in the educational system. So basically, it provides a useful structure in which test questions are categorized. And then it is something that professors or teachers would base how they would formulate their questions so that they would be able to test the different levels of thinking for their students, such as if you are in the basic education, specifically like kindergarten or daycare or grades 1 to 3, the most common thinking skills or levels that would be that teachers would be focusing would be your lower order thinking skills. But as you go higher in the educational system, the levels of thinking that is being put emphasis on by your teachers would go higher and higher also. So with this, you can also determine the levels of questions that would appear in your exam, in which case you would be able to study or use more appropriate study techniques or strategies. So let's try to look at these 7 layers or 7 levels of thinking one by one. First, we have knowledge. Knowledge is simply the recall or remembering things. It is based on observation and recalling of information, such as the knowledge of dates, events, places, such as and the common context clues that we would be encountering here, or the common words that your teachers would be using, would be list, define, tell, describe, such as questions like what happened after, how many, like what is the name of your teacher, how many of you are enrolled in the subject, what is the course of your classmates. Those kind of things are the basic questions or the basic um, assessment types when it comes to testing the knowledge of students. Next, once you are able to master or have a proper vocabulary of words, you would now proceed to the next level of thinking, which is comprehension. In comprehension, the most common words that are used here would be summarize, describe, interpret, contrast, predict, associate, distinguish, estimate, differentiate, discuss, extend. In comprehension, you would be asked to understand information. However, it wouldn't just be understanding or being able to say what it is based on what you read, like just simply giving the meaning that was taken by the book or from the book. Comprehension is also about being able to interpret the information or the data that you have gathered using your own or paraphrasing the idea based on how you understand it. So the common questions that can be asked of you basing on understanding would be, can you write it in your own words? Write a brief outline of the discussion. Who do you think did this? What is the main idea of the lesson? And what is the difference between these two ideas? Now, if you now have the mastery when it comes to the identification of ideas, and you now have, or you can now explain some concepts on your own, and you have the basic knowledge of understanding of some topics, you would now be able to proceed to the next level, which is application. Application now pertains to the use of methods, concepts, theories, and applying them on how they would be explained to you, or by following a certain instruction. So let's say, for example, in the knowledge level, your teacher would ask you to label or identify the names or the parts of a computer. And then in the next one, he or she would ask you to explain what are the uses of these different components of a computer. So those two first questions would only pertain or test your knowledge and comprehension. So to be able to test application level of students or learners, your teacher might ask you to show or demonstrate on how you can assemble and disassemble a system unit based on a set demonstration or a criteria. So when it comes to application, the most common words or context clues that we can observe would be apply, demonstrate, calculate, complete. And the most common scenarios or questions that would be thrown at us would be, what factors did you change? What information given? Can you develop a set of instructions about it? And then the next one, after application or being able to do or test what you have learned, you would now proceed to analysis. Analysis now would pertain to being able to see patterns of organizations, parts of recognition, identifying hidden meanings, and identification of components. Common questions would be, which events could have happened? How was it like? What do you see? Why did it change? So basically, when it comes to analysis, it is about going back to your experience in the application level and thinking and criticizing what are the things that you have learned from that and how does it compare with the comprehension and the knowledge that you have gained. Are there differences when it comes to the application versus to the concepts that you have learned? So when it comes to analysis, it is about reflecting on how you applied the information that you have first understood or the first information that you have learned. The next one now, or the next level now, would be synthesis. Synthesis now would pertain to the use of old ideas to be able to create new or generalize from given facts and from several areas and to be able to predict and draw conclusions. Synthesis is somewhat um, similar when it comes to application. However, application is being able to do or make things based on a certain guideline that was given to you. It means that you are going to do something based on how it was demonstrated to you. It is basically being able to apply what you learned using the same context or information that was discussed to you. However, when you say synthesis, you are going to use the past levels or your past experiences to make or draw a conclusion or to make a new idea, which now will proceed or which now will proceed to the last level, which is about evaluation. Evaluation now would pertain to being able to assess, decide, rank, grade, test, measure. Basically, it is about being able to criticize or being able to judge a certain output or a certain outcome based or using a very um, based on a constructive, objective point of view. When it comes to evaluation, you would be asked to compare, discriminate between ideas, such as um, what are the things that you learned from the application. And then upon reflecting, and then upon creating your own application of that same concept, what are the things that you learned? When it comes to evaluation, you're going to compare two new ideas. One may be an old experience of yours, and then one or the other one would be a new experience or a new theory, and then you are going to determine what are the things that separates them or what are the things that could be true in the other one and what could be the things that are false in the other side. However, when it comes to evaluation, it isn't just about being able to assess or discriminate two different ideas. It is about being able to point out what could be, um, point out your own perspective or your own point of view and being able to support those ideas using your own knowledge. So, to sum it up, the seven levels of Bloom's taxonomy starts with being able to memorize things, recall things as is. And then you have comprehension, being able to explain what those things are. And then you have application. You're going to use what you learn in the comprehension and knowledge and apply those concepts the way they were taught to you. And then you have analysis. Analysis now, again, would pertain to reflecting to the experiences from application, comprehension, and knowledge, and being able to discriminate the things that could be improved, which now would lead to synthesis, wherein you're going to use what you have analyzed to be able to create a new theory or a new synthesis or a new way on how you're going to apply things. And also in synthesis, it would also pertain to reapplying what you have learned based on the analysis. And then lastly, of course, you have evaluation. This now would pertain to discriminating two different ideas. In analysis and evaluation, they have almost the same concept. It's just that for analysis, it would only pertain for a one specific experience or one specific idea. However, when it comes to evaluation, it is seeing similarities and differences between two different concepts or two different ideas. Like you are going now to see the differences or see or try to discriminate or assess the things that you did in the application level and then the things that you need or that you have done or improve in the synthesis level. So this now is Benjamin Bloom's seven levels of thinking. However, lately in 1990s, Lauren Anderson Lauren Anderson was actually an apprentice of Bloom taxonomy, and along with a group of cognitive psychologists, updated Bloom's taxonomy. So they called it simply Revised Bloom's taxonomy. In the revised Bloom's taxonomy, there were only a couple of changes. There were only three, to be exact. First was that in the original Bloom's taxonomy, the words used were all nouns. In the revised Bloom's taxonomy, they changed it into verbs. Why is that? They said that since Bloom's taxonomy is about the 7 processes of levels of thinking, it is basically about, or it is basically action words or implementing different levels of thinking. So they said that it should be changed into verbs. The next one would be they changed the last two, or they interchanged the last two ideas. Evaluation became the 6th level, and then creating became the highest level. They said that, or they, in their defense, they said that if you are able to remember or identify things, and then you're able to understand things or explain things, and then you are able to apply those same concepts, you should then be able to analyze those ideas or analyze the application that you made, and then you should proceed to evaluation, which pertains to creating or new or judging the whole experiences and being able to use the evaluation or conclusion that you made to create something new. So that was their defense. And then the last thing was the revised, or the original Bloom's taxonomy was basically used for basic education only, which is until high school or until the K to 12 program or until senior high school. But the revised Bloom's taxonomy is something that can be used universally, can be used until it is for the until the higher grades or tertiary level. So to better understand the revised Bloom's taxonomy or the Bloom's taxonomy as a whole, let's provide some example. In remembering, you just need to name, identify parts or names of certain things. So in an activity, your teacher might ask you to name parts of a computer, and then all you have to do is to identify the names, and then submit. And then next level would be understanding. Define what the following terms: software, hardware, and then you're going to provide your answer, explaining ideas based on how you understand them. Next one would be applying. Use the concepts that you have learned to be able to apply it in the real world. Following the instructions given and demonstration made last meeting, submit a video of yourself assembling and disassembling your system unit. So in this activity, there was a demonstration that was made by the teacher, and then the activity is for you to apply the same concept in your computer. So that could be your output, which proceeds to analyzing. In analyzing now, you are going to reflect on the learning that you gain from application. So let's say, for example, here the follow-up activity was to watch the video of her classmate assemble and disassemble his or her system unit and identify or explain why he or she was given 40/50. And your answer could be this one. Next one is evaluation. You're going to use the things that you have gained from the 5 levels, and then you're going to try to relate it to other ideas, or you're going to take the concepts that you have learned from the 5 levels of thinking, and then you're going to take that same idea and try to apply or relate it to other things. So activity would be a friend of yours bought his new water-cooled PC. However, you observe that due to its compact size, it still emits high temperature. And the activity is, nonetheless, you want to buy one for yourself. The problem is you don't have enough money. What will you do? The evaluating or the thinking here would pertain to having the knowledge of the basic parts of a computer, understanding the uses and functionalities of the parts of the computer, and having the basic knowledge of being able to assemble, disassemble a system unit, and then the analyzing wherein you were able to reflect on the things that you did wrong and the things that you should improve. So in evaluation, you're going to take all of those, and then instead of just simply following what has been discussed or following or redoing what you did in the application, you're going to try to improve that idea or try to relate it to other types of activities. So in this, instead of buying, you're going to create your own cooling system based on the resources that you have, which leads you to the last or the highest level, as the revised Bloom's taxonomy indicates, being able to create new ideas based on all the learnings that you have. It means being able to be creative and being able to be or being able to innovate what you have learned. So that's it for unit number 8, Bloom's taxonomy. Thank you.